Hello humans, Mr. Bell here with comic number 4. This is comic drawing activity number 4. Thinking about speech bubbles. Thinking. Thinking about ABOUT. Speech, SPEECH, bubbles, BUBBLES. Thinking about speech bubbles. So do write that up in the upper right hand corner. Comic number 4, thinking about speech bubbles. So I want to talk, I've already drawn a lot of my comic strip. I am going to finish this last frame here in this video, but I drew everything else before I started the video, and that's because I want to talk more about this time, rather than make you watch me draw it. You've already seen how I draw this character, and I think hopefully you're developing your own technique into drawing your own character now. So I just want to illustrate some of the things I did with text. This is a speech bubble, even though it doesn't have that surrounding bubble that a lot of speech bubbles have. That's fine. Sometimes it can add to what you're drawing, and sometimes it can't. In this particular first frame, I didn't think it would help the story or help what this frame looks like, so I chose to exclude that bubble. But then in this next frame, I chose to include the surrounding area around the thought bubble because I thought it added to it. This is an example of how you can push that speech bubble outside of the frame. So I ended the frame here, but then I continued the speech bubble over it, which kind of will help the viewer think, hey, maybe there's more going on outside of this frame. You don't want the viewer to think that this frame is where everything is. You want this frame to kind of guide the viewer in what to look at. These frames are used for focusing attention on things, but not ignoring that there is stuff going outside in the world other than what's going on here. Like, you want the viewer to be aware that my original character, he's still there. You just can't see him because I want the viewer to focus on this bank teller guy. Text bubbles can also be kind of more like a bubble, or you can use a font to illustrate. Like this, I want him to kind of seem like maybe he's sounding scary or angry or something like that. So I used kind of a blocky, angry looking font. And I also pushed it past the edge of the frame again, just to kind of bring the viewer's attention to what I'm saying here. Because I want the eyes to be like a big portion of this, but really what I want the viewer to focus on is what he is saying. If I was to add color to this, I'd probably make this a really bright color like red or something that really shows up, and I would use a very muted background. And then sometimes you can have thought bubbles or speech bubbles that don't even have words in it. This dotted line arrow, this illustrates something akin to like a thought bubble or speech bubble. Even though it's just a symbol, it's known that this arrow isn't actually there. It's just illustrating that he's indeed holding this stick up, which is kind of the punchline of my joke for this comic strip. So I'm going to go ahead and read it to you, and then I'm going to draw this last frame, and then we're going to be working on these for the rest of the day. So at first, I put a box up here to illustrate that we are at a bank. So this is like a generic sign at a bank, so the viewer knows where the action is kind of taking place. It is in a bank. Then he says, "Give me all the money." And then this guy looks pretty sad. I purposely did a accentuated frown on him to make him seem like he doesn't really know what's going on, but he doesn't like it. Then I did remember if last exercise we did a close-up version. So this is clearly that same stick. I added this leaf, and I made sure that the bottom was showing on both of these sticks to kind of make the viewer know that this stick is the same stick, even though this one's a little bit more detailed and it's larger and it's the only thing in the frame really. People will realize that this stick and this stick is the same stick. This one's just forward in time because he's kind of saying a sentence. Give me all the money. This is a stick. And then the teller says, what are you going to do with it? Kind of setting up my main character for the punchline of this comic strip, which isn't even going to really include, it's not going to include much text. But then I went on to another extreme close-up, and I kept my character's eyes kind of the same shape, but then I squinted him down to make it look like he's angry or trying to be threatening, and I zoomed in on that eye. to illustrate that really what we're paying attention to here is the emotional state of the character. And he says, "You just wait," again using that really angry looking blocky text to illustrate that he's like yelling this, not just saying it. When you bold print stuff in comics, really it's the same thing as when you're texting. If you go bold print, people are going to think maybe you're yelling. Or if you purposely capitalize letters, people are definitely going to think that that character is yelling. So I want the viewer to think that this is not just him saying it, it's him yelling it. And I did that again by making them blocky letters, by giving them a focus, and I used capital letters for it. And then again, now he goes in same place. I kept that bank sign there for that idea of continuity. We don't want the viewer to think that they've really moved. We want them to think they're in the same place, but still time has gone by. And then I use this speech bubble arrow to boop, 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 up to illustrate that he is lifting this stick up. And then these little speed arrows also help illustrate that. That's what these lines are called. You put them behind things that are going fast to illustrate that they're moving that way. It's kind of a symbol for like the wind parting before this stick. And now I'm going to go ahead and draw my last frame, which is going to be really simple, just like this one. Still, I'm sticking with this real simple shape idea, trying to keep things really uniform and keeping them, really simple to draw so I can draw this same guy really quickly every time. And I'm going to get in the mode of pretty much always starting in the same place. I'm going to start with his forehead first, then I'm going to bring his face down, then I'm going to bring his chin in, then I'm going to draw the eye. This time I don't want him to seem angry anymore. I want him to go back to his kind of weird, derpy, neutral expression. Add that hair. Same motif. Remember, if you want to go the extra mile and you want to spend some time and make this look a little better, you can push that detail as much as you want. There is no right or wrong way on how to do this. But again, if you want to keep it a little simple, it could be almost just as effective as if you draw it really nicely. So now I'm going to make him back to kind of his emotional state that he's usually at. He's not really angry. I wanted him only to seem angry for this one part, because this really isn't a joke about being angry. This is a joke that is a pun. So now I'm going to draw the teller guy at the bank. Oh, I kind of messed up. I don't think that round shape of his head is going to read through. It might confuse the audience. So I'm going to really try to keep that kind of more perfect round circle rather than an oval for this guy. So I'm going to push that back a little. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to, you have to try. The viewer will see if I just totally disregarded that shape or if I tried my best to kind of keep it that same shape. Don't forget about your handy dandy eraser or, honestly starting over. Really, it took me a lot longer to come up with this idea for a comic rather than drawing it. It didn't take me that long to draw it, but it took me, good 5-10 minutes to even come up with a little bit of an idea, and then to figure out that I wanted to have it a pun. I was going to go with a different pun, and as I was drawing this, I decided to go with a different one. Moving the guy forward a little bit. So notice that the desk kind of stays in the same place, but it looks like now the teller character is kind of coming forward. He's going to have a little bit of a frown because he's not happy with the situation still. But he's going to have his little hand out and he's going to have a bag of money. Illustrating that again with really simple shapes. And then I'm going to use that universal symbol for money, or the US dollar. So everybody knows just by putting that symbol in there, now it's very clear this is a bag of money. I can't forget his bald hair. And then I'm going to have a thought bubble that says, oh, okay, here you go. So I'm going to actually just say, okay. So I'm going to write, oh, taking my time with this lettering. Okay. Notice that when I do this, I'm writing the letters before I put the speech bubble around it. You want the speech bubble to fit around the letters, and sometimes it's hard to predict how much space your text is going to take up. So write the text first, get the text the way you like it, and then you can finish it. So I'm going to say, okay, comma, here, H-E-R, E here. And I can fit, and then I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to make sure I can fit the word U into this space. And I think I can if I keep writing letters the same size. But if I couldn't, I would maybe end the speech bubble here, and I would move it down here. Here, U, and then I'm going to have go kind of centered. It would be awkward to have it all the way over here. It'd be overweight. You want these speech bubbles usually to be fairly centered. Same with why I did this up here. I moved the 2 over a little bit, and then I push that in a little bit. So, okay, here you... Oh, I was going to write a capital letter. I don't want it to seem like he's yelling, so I'm going to make sure it is a lowercase letter. Here you go. Period, period, period. And then I am going to draw that speech bubble around it. You want to let these things stay kind of oval. And you can squish them in to like fit around the lettering. But really, you want to make these uniform shapes because we recognize this shape with the tail sticking out of it to be a speech bubble. So I'm going to try to go with that. And then this time, I kind of had the speech bubble go over his head here because I thought it would look better and I wanted to make sure that people could clearly read the words. But this time I think I'm going to make his speech bubble go behind his head because I think that'll look better. And I'm actually going to have this speech bubble kind of go off the side of the page. And maybe it's going to disappear kind of up at the top. Then I'm going to pick where I want that speech bubble tail to be. And again, you want that speech bubble tail to always be pointing towards who is speaking. So I'm going to draw that tail right there. Bam. Now it is clear that it is the teller guy that is speaking, and he is going to hand my character the money. And you know what, actually, I'm going to have him say down here. So since I bubbled this, and this one's all big and kind of at the top of the page, people are going to notice it more. But I think it might be funny just to have him politely say THANKS, period. And then I'm not going to put a speech bubble around that. You know, I don't like the way that S looks, so I'm going to go back and kind of darken it in. And that is my comic. I hope you get it. I'm pretty stinking proud of it. This is the Stick Up.